said that the storm has hit slightly higher than expected. He talked about the power being out. Stay wherever you are. The winds are dropping and will continue for the next few hours. The storm surge due to end about midnight New York time. It's now just gone past 10 p.m. So from sunrise now we will say goodbye. Thank you for your company and we will hand it over now to 7 News.
Today, tens of millions of Americans battered by Superstorm Sandy. Major cities in lockdown as the storm topples cranes, brings down buildings and floods streets, forcing hundreds of thousands from their homes and bringing the US election campaign to a halt.
This is 7 News with Ann Sanders.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of 7 News. We begin in the US where monster storm Sandy has slammed into the east coast, claiming at least 5 lives. It's no longer a hurricane, but is still having a massive impact as it moves slowly across the region. Sandy hit near Atlantic City in New Jersey a few hours ago with winds over 130 kilometres an hour and driving rain. But it's the massive storm surge that's causing the most damage, flooding streets and smashing homes. Almost 60 million people across 12 states are likely to be impacted by the 1,600-kilometre wide storm, with a state of emergency already declared in 9 states. 2.8 million people are already without power as electrical substations explode and phone lines drop out. New York is in lockdown. Water has risen to record levels. The subway is flooded and seawater has inundated lower Manhattan. People are being warned to stay indoors, away from windows. The facade of a 4-storey building has collapsed in New York and a crane's toppled on the roof of a 90-storey apartment block. So Sandy has already caused major damage and widespread flooding in New York City. For the latest, we're joined by Sunrise correspondent Nelson Aspen, who's in New York. Hello, Nelson. What are emergency crews facing there right now?
Well, Anne, I can't tell you more than I know from my 14th-story vantage point. Our power has gone out here. We're living by candlelight and looking out on a Park Avenue that is completely dark except for every third block there seem to be police cars. What we do know, while our batteries still maintain from our BlackBerries and iPhones, is that buildings are crumbling, streets are flooding, some neighborhoods still have power. I'm here right near Grand Central Station.
We now go to NBC reporters in Atlantic City and in New Jersey, where Angela said the water is rising.
Just a few miles south of here, Sandy, the center of Sandy's coming ashore, but in Atlantic City itself, we're still getting hammered here. You can see I'm on the world-famous boardwalk. The lights are still on the boardwalk and at the casinos, although for only the 4th time in history, Brian, the casinos are closed, losing $5 million a day. However, it's the potential loss of life that people here are more concerned about. There was a mandatory evacuation for the boardwalk for Atlantic City, I should say, put in place on Sunday, and most people heeded that warning. However, we're told by emergency management that about 400 people on the bay side of this city remained in their homes and tried to ride out the storm. And we're going to walk over here. My photographer Rich will take a stroll over here and we'll show you what the city is dealing with. The streets are under several feet of water in many places. This is the access road that we use to get up on the boardwalk.
Good evening from Point Pleasant Beach, where this sand dune is the only thing between the town and the sea, which is coming up closer and closer by the hour. The waves are at least 10 to 8 feet. The wind 70 miles per hour. Rain falling sideways. The situation has gotten worse progressively as we've been here. In the last hour or so, it's really gotten worse. We've also been out in the town where there's severe flooding. Police have the area sealed off. There's a mandatory evacuation order under effect. The real concern here is that the inland lakes and bay will flood and connect to the ocean and wipe out the entire town in this area. A similar story up and down the Jersey coast.
Hurricane Sandy has also blown the presidential election campaign off course. Just days out from polling day, both Barack Obama and Mitt Romney have suspended their campaign. The president has returned to Washington to lead the government's response to the looming disaster.
Air Force One brought the president back to Washington from Florida. His election campaign is now on hold. Braced for the storm, he raced back to the White House to coordinate an emergency response to the hurricane. As he will have glimpsed from his convoy as he headed for the Situation Room, Washington is a ghost town.
Stay with us. After the break, you will have the rest of the day's news, including the Penny Wong pre-selection fight. Also, more on the chaos Sandy is causing as it moves across America's East Coast. Welcome back to this special 7 News Bulletin as Superstorm Sandy blasts the US coast. The storm has grounded more than 12,500 flights over the United States. Australians are among thousands of passengers affected by the delays. Qantas has cancelled flights between Los Angeles and New York. Virgin Australia will operate a flight from Sydney to Los Angeles today, but all flights from LA to Boston, Washington, Philadelphia and New York are cancelled.
It was supposed to be only a 2-hour layover here in Atlanta, Georgia, and now it's beginning to be a 28-hour layover.
Qantas and Virgin hope to resume flights from tomorrow, but passengers should check with their airline. In other news now, a federal Labor senator has stepped aside for Finance Minister Penny Wong to avoid an embarrassing party showdown. The pre-selection stoush threatened to reignite the political gender wars, which is still ringing alarm bells in Canberra.
Preparing for a parliamentary emergency. MPs and staff are directed outside.
We're running for our lives here.
Time for a quick check of the financial markets, and Wall Street is closed because of Tropical Storm Sandy. The ASX 200 is up 11 points. The Aussie dollar is buying just over $1, 82 yen and $1.25 New Zealand. Coming up next in 7 News, injury problems for Sonny Bill Williams, and racing identities ramp up their Melbourne Cup preparations with one notable absentee. The Melbourne Cup's just a week away, and the Cup's king, Bart Cummings, still hasn't been sighted at Flemington. He'll saddle up imported stayer Sanagas in the $6.2 million race. The Melbourne Cup Carnival begins on Saturday with the Victoria Derby the main attraction. Stay with me here on 7 News. I'll be back with an update on Hurricane Sandy, as well as all the local weather details after the break. Let's update the weather situation in the United States now, and Sandy has made landfall, slamming into the southern coast of New Jersey. It's now classified as a post-tropical storm. 500,000 people have been evacuated from their homes. Part of New York is in lockdown and the power there is out. Authorities have confirmed at least 5 people have died in New York alone. Wall Street is closed for the first time since the September 11 terror attacks. The gale force winds and heavy rain are forecast to subside in New York within hours. A state of emergency has been declared in 9 states, including Virginia and Pennsylvania, affecting 60 million people. People are being warned to stay indoors and away from their windows. Now for a look at our weather today. A shower or two forecast for Brisbane, a top of 26, dry and 25 degrees in Sydney. Canberra, 25 today, fine for Hobart and 25. Melbourne, warm and 30, sunny and 33 in Adelaide. Perth may get a shower, a top of 24, and storms for Darwin and 34 degrees. And that is 7 News to now. We'll keep you updated on the situation in America in a special 1-hour bulletin at 4:30 and tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm Ann Sanders. Thanks for your company. Bye for now.